Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Nilah updated complete guide. So now you guys might be thinking, what? Already? Yeah. So we just released our first Nilah complete guide about a week ago or so. And since then a lot of things have changed. Well, I've spammed Nilah basically a lot. Like every day I've been playing Nilah, as you guys know. For the first couple of days I was on, of course, the top charts of Nilah, peaking at number 17. Nilah, as I shown in my last Nilah video. But anyways, that's not the important part. The important part is from playing all this Nilah, I learned a lot of new things, and I've changed my views on a lot of things that I mentioned in my past video, like the runes, even the spells, and the items as well. Of course, as usual, don't forget to check out the Nilah basic guide that I posted, of course, for her skills, leveling order, as well as some tips and tricks, and as well as her combos. So, anyways, this is going to be a pretty lengthy discussion on all the different parts of Nilah. So, if you guys are not interested in that and you want to see the gameplay, of course, just go ahead and skip to the timestamps below in the description. So, the first thing I want to discuss is why I like to max E instead of Q. And for this, I'm actually going to be putting up the graphic in the video right now. So, you guys can see that when we max Q, what we're going to get is we're going to get 5 extra base damage on Q every rank, as well as increased AD ratio. So, why this isn't very good to max is simply because that 5 extra damage on Q is not really going to matter all that much. It's really just 5 damage. 5 damage is incredibly negligible, and after you max it, you put extra 4 points into it, your damage is only going to increase by what 15 or 20, like 20 damage. It's really not that important. But what is better is if we max our E. So once again, if you take a look at the graphic that I'm putting up above, if you max E, you're getting 30 extra damage on E, and additionally you get 2 extra seconds of lesser cooldown. So this is good for 2 reasons. Firstly, you can use your E for wave clear, and secondly, your E is of course able to be activated twice, so in reality that's like 60 extra damage, not just 30 extra damage. And furthermore, with a lower cooldown, you're going to be able to use your E more often. So extra damage plus lower cooldown is so much better than just like 5 extra damage per rank on Q. So now you might be saying, but when you max Q, you're getting a better AD ratio. So isn't it that when you max Q overall, you're going to get way more than 5 extra damage per rank? Well, the answer is sort of yes and no. The answer is yes because of course that's true, but the true answer of no, why that doesn't actually help that much, is because I've tested Nilah in many games that I'm ahead, I'm even, and I'm behind. Majority of the time, on average, by the time you max your Q, you're gonna only have one item, which is your shield bow. And if you're a little bit fat, you might have a shield bow plus, let's say, a berserker's greaves, or you might have a shield bow plus a protobelt, but you're not gonna even have items for item components for a second item. Maybe if you're super duper duper fat, you might have like a extra longsword on top of your protobelt or something like that, or a vamp scepter. It could be possible, but overall, my point is that you're not getting very much for maxing Q. And by the time you max your second ability, you're gonna be at like 2 items on average. So for example, if I max my E first and then I max my Q, by the time I've maxed my Q, I would have completed my shield bow, my protobelt, and my bloodthirster. And this is where I feel the Q AD ratio becomes important, because when you have like 2 items that give you AD, that AD ratio is actually gonna play a part. But if I only have 1 item that gives me like 40 AD, and of course if I have together for Berserker's Greaves that gives me 15, it really isn't going to matter all that much. And that's basically the main reason why I think maxing E is better than maxing Q. So with that out of the way, now we can actually talk about her loadout. So a lot of things to discuss here. First up, we're still starting off with Shield Bow. Shield Bow gives you, of course, AD, crit, attack speed, physical vamp, as well as the Lifeline passive, which when you drop below 35% health is going to give you a shield that scales off of your crit. And of course, you also get the Battle Fury passive, which is going to give you additional vamp when you trigger the shield. Very useful item, don't have to explain too much. Now, this is where the explanation comes in for the rest of the items. First up is why we're going for Berserker's Greaves and why we're going for Protobelt. So, as we know, you of course get attack speed from your Q. I mentioned in my original video that you could go for either Berserker's Greaves or you could go for Gluttonous Greaves or more Omnivamp. Now, nowadays I go for Berserker's Greaves every game because even though you get attack speed from your Q, your attack speed at earlier levels is not going to be too high. It's only going to really hit high amounts when you are like, it scales of course off of levels, so it's only really going to hit high amounts when you're really high level. So, to remedy the situation, I think going for Berserker's Greaves in the early game is going to help with your attack speed a lot and thereby help with your DPS. Now, secondly is why Protobelt. Well, as you guys saw from the combo section of the basic guides video, Protobelt is really useful for engaging, and ever since I tested out Protobelt, I've never gone for Stasis or QSS ever again. Now, of course, there are going to be certain matches where if there's like 3 Assassins on an enemy team, Stasis is going to be better than Protobelt, or if there's like a lot of CC, QSS is going to be better, but I haven't encountered those situations as of yet. I think that the extra engage you get from Protobelt is huge because this allows you to R Protobelt, and this prevents you from having to expend your flash or even expend your E to engage. Don't forget that your E is a very major source of damage, and if you use one E charge to engage, you're actually wasting a lot of damage that you could have been using to instead, of course, use it on the enemies, which you're going to see later on in the gameplay how this works. So the next change is, instead of going for IE as my second full item, I've decided to go for Bloodthirster instead. And just to be clear, we're actually completing Shield Bolt and then we're completing the entire Protobelt first and then we're moving on to Bloodthirster. So we have our enchant pretty much straight away. So then we get our Bloodthirster, and the reason why I think Bloodthirster is better than IE as a second item is because stat-wise, the AD and the crit is roughly it's not even roughly, it's exactly the same actually. But the main trade-off is the physical vamp as well as the Bloodthorn shield versus the additional crit damage. Now I think when it comes to Nilah, the survivability from the vamp and the shield is more important than the pure damage you get from the IE. So I decided that I prefer taking Bloodthirster first. And then we are going to get IE only as our third item, which then is going to give us that boost in terms of our crit damage. Now of course, we also have LDR as our fourth item to, of course, give us 100% crit as well as the armor penetration. Generally, you should try to get this as your armor penetration item. You should try to avoid getting Mortal Reminder if you can help it, because LDR is a lot better to hit your 100% crit faster, because of course Nilah scales off of crit in multiple aspects of her kit, so LDR is really good. So of course, if you have to go for that, you can go for the Mortal Reminder and then go for Solari Charge Blade as your last item. However, your last item, you have actually multiple options if you go for the 4 crit items as your first 4 items. First option is of course GA. So GA of course allows you to get the revive, which is amazing, but now there are actually 2 other options that I actually really like. Now one option is Amaranth Twin Guard, which is not one of the 2 options that I'm about to mention, but one of the options is Amaranth Twin Guard. So 2 options that I really like are, number 1, Death's Dance. Now Death's Dance is really good into very heavy AD teams because of course as a melee champion you can get the Cauterize passive at full effect. 35% of physical damage is going to be dealt as true damage over 3 seconds, so it's a lot more difficult for you to get bursted. You of course get the armor, the AD ability haste, and when you kill a champion or get a assist, you are going to get 12% of your max health restored. Now the second item I love is actually Spirit Visage, and this is to counter AP teams. That's going to give you more health to make you more tanky, more health regen, magic resist, 20 ability haste, and the most important part is increases your healing and shielding by 30%, which if you just think about how much healing and shielding Nilah has, this becomes an absolutely insane item, allowing you to of course heal and shield a lot. So pretty much I think that your last item, your best option is going to be Spirit Visage if you're playing into 1 or 2 AP. Then it's probably going to be Death's Dance, and then it's going to be GA. Of course, Death's Dance and GA kind of a little bit situational depending on whether you can afford to go for Death's Dance or you need the GA to counter Assassin so you don't just get one shot and die. So now talking about the runes, we still go for Conqueror. Of course, this gives you additional vamp as well as AD when it's fully stacked, and since Nilah is a melee champion, she's going to benefit even more from that. And next up, we're going to talk about the minor runes. Now previously I used to take like something like this. But now I actually think that Brula is really good, because last time the main reason I didn't take Brula is because you don't auto attack a lot in lane, which is still true. You don't auto attack a lot in lane, but you can kind of make up for it by, you know, of course you auto attack a lot in all ins, and Brula is going to help you in all ins. Now I still think Triumph is actually really good, so it's now sort of like a choice between the two. Then over here I used to take Last Stand, but I noticed that Last Stand actually isn't that good, and nowadays I always take Coup de Grace. And the reason for that is, if you guys take a look at Last Stand, sorry, not that one. Last Stand gives you additional damage when your health is lower than 60%, and when your health is lower than 30%, it grants you the maximum damage. Now, overall, this gives you more damage compared to Coup de Grace, which Last Stand is of course 5 to 11%, and Coup de Grace is additional 7% when the enemy is below 40% health. But the main reason why I think Coup de Grace is better is because Last Stand really only helps when you're low. However, if you happen to have a game where you're obscenely far ahead, then your Last Stand is pretty much going to be useless, because you're never going to be, you know, below 60% health anyway. Whereas with Coup de Grace, whether you're ahead or behind, having extra 7% damage against low HP enemies is always going to be helpful, which is why I think Coup de Grace is actually better than Last Stand. Of course, Bloodline still remains the same for the Omnivamp. And for your secondary rune, I've pretty much narrowed it down to only two options. You pretty much go second win 90% of the time, because in lane you're generally always going to suffer almost regardless of your lane matchup. However, if you're with a champion that can heal you a lot, for example a Soraka, even the nerf Soraka will work. If you're with a champion who can heal you a lot, you can instead go for Sudden Impact. A Sudden Impact of course gives you extra 13 magic and physical pen, which is really useful because Nilah of course has 2 dashes, so she can proc the Sudden Impact really easily. But you only want to go for this if of course your team has a very strong healer to heal you. Otherwise you don't want to go for that, because you're gonna just get destroyed in lane. You want to go for a second win. Now finally, for the spells, of course we covered how we can go for Exhaust with Flash, but another option that you can actually go for is actually Ghost with Flash. So last time I made the video I haven't tested it yet, now I have, and I found that Ghost with Flash is actually really good as well. It allows you to basically run down enemies in all ins, and from time to time allows you to of course run away and kite around and you know, escape fights as well. So Ghost is actually really good on Nilah as well. So now we've covered the items, the runes, the spells, and even the ability leveling order in depth now. So now let's show you an example and jump straight into our gameplay next. Okay, so now here is where we put the theory into practice, of course, in our gameplay. So of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. So now, in this matchup, we're against a Soraka Ezreal, and we are of course with Leona. Now, something to note is this Soraka was the pre-hotfix Soraka. I played this match some time ago, but I've only now just gotten around to making the video. Here you can see for some reason they face check us, and Nilah in an all-in is incredibly strong, especially you know, level 1 against an Ezreal and a Soraka. You can see Soraka gets put down to half health already, and we're off to a relatively good start. Now, of course, getting damage on Soraka is a lot more effective than getting damage on Ezreal, because if you get damage on Ezreal, Ezreal is just going to get healed up by Soraka when she levels up her heal. Appears that she has leveled up her Q, as you guys can see. Now, of course, leveling up her Q allows her to heal herself as well, but not at as an insane of a rate as if she were to heal Ezreal. But you can see that from half health, she's now almost back to full. So in reality, you know, nothing too much really happened, and that's kind of why Soraka was incredibly broken. You know, she can heal herself over time, heal an ally in huge bursts, you know, within a short window, and you know, that's why she had like, you know, a high 50-something% win rate before she got hotfixed. But now that problem is kind of semi-resolved by the hotfix already. But of course, in this particular game, we're still playing against the OP like version of Soraka, and yeah. So, but the good news is that Leona Nilah is a very easy, like very obvious, not easy, very obvious all-in lane. Whereas Soraka Ezreal is like a poke sustain lane, where Ezreal can just toss Qs and so can Soraka and poke us down, and at the same time they can both sustain up. And of course, we know that the triangle poke beats all ins, so we have to avoid getting poked as much as possible so that we have a chance to all in and not give them the chance to sustain. So here, you know, we are getting poked down quite a bit, but this is where the second win comes in. So You guys can see that although I'm getting poked down, you can see the second wind is healing me up like by a decent amount. If you really pay attention to your health bar, you can really see where second wind comes into play. Take note here. You can see that the line on my health bar. You can see second wind is coming in to slowly heal me up. Anyways, here we get a gank in from the Lucian, and we are able to focus down Soraka and get the kill. Ezreal runs somewhere into our jungle, so we are gonna actually try to run into our jungle and see if we can actually catch him out. I actually guessed that he was recalling in this bush. Turns out he was not, and turns out he actually went mid. So since he's not here, I'm just gonna not waste any more time, quickly recall, get some items, and run back to the lane. You can see in this particular gameplay, I actually went for Ghost, and really when you want to go for Ghost versus Exhaust is how many people can you actually exhaust. Of course, Nilah is a melee champion, so it's really easy for her to exhaust people, but who needs to be exhausted? Let's take a look at this match. We're not going to exhaust Lux, we're not going to exhaust Ornn, we're not going to exhaust Soraka, we can exhaust Rengar and Ezreal pretty much only. Ezreal, not the best to exhaust. Rengar is pretty good to exhaust, but since he's an assassin, he's going to be able to pretty much just assassinate us before we can react and exhaust him. So in this match, in my opinion, exhaust is not the most amazing, so instead we're just gonna go Ghost for the extra mobility. So here you see that the enemy team took some time to get to lane. You can see that I basically used my E and my Q to actually clear out the wave, and whenever you have a chance as Nilah, you should pretty much just one-shot the wave with your double E plus Q auto combo, because Nilah is always going to have a tough time farming in lane regardless of who you're fighting, unless you're fighting like another melee champion like a Yasuo bot lane or something like that. If not, you're always going to be at a range disadvantage, you're always going to get poked down, and you're always going to have trouble just getting CS. So whatever CS you can get for free, you want to get it as quickly as you can. So here you can see that since I'm not getting poked down, I'm just quickly getting the two melee minions, and here you can see I can't even access the range minions, so you're pretty much never going to have priority in lane. It's something you basically just have to accept when you're playing Nilah. Here, for some reason, the Soraka overextends. We are able to get an all-in. Here you can see the healing from Soraka with her R and her Ws, but we are able to focus her down and kill her. Of course, once again, when you're playing against a Soraka lane, you have to focus the Soraka, because if you focus the Ezreal, he's just going to get spam healed by Soraka. So kind of the good and bad thing about this is if you're playing against a Soraka lane, Ezreal, the ADC that Soraka is playing with normally doesn't get killed, because normally the Soraka is the one that's getting killed. Because if you focus the ADC, you're focusing the wrong guy, because Soraka can kill the ADC, whereas if you focus the Soraka, Soraka's going to die a lot, but in turn, technically speaking, if she dies means her ADC lives, which is kind of what a support wants to do anyway. So it's kind of like a win-lose kind of situation at the same time. You do get a kill, but you're not getting the kill on the target you want, so something like that. But yeah, so here you can see that, for example, in this match, I'm 2-0. I'm level 7 at the moment, so at level 7 is the point where you would have maxed out your first ability. You can see that my items now, I only have a shield bow, which is why I think maxing E is better, because at this point, if I had maxed my Q, I would only have just reached my Q max, and with a Q max extra AD ratio, only having the extra AD from, of course, my shield bow, this is not really going to be very helpful for me, and I think having the extra damage plus the extra cooldown on E is way more useful, which is why I think maxing E is way better, based on my experience of playing Nilah. So anyways, here we are able to pretty much just get a lot of time with the tower. Obviously you can see that my team didn't really need my help in taking the dragon. We're able to get the dragon pretty handily, and we can just pretty much just focus on the tower. Here we can see Ezreal is alone, because we can see Soraka getting engaged on by Jarvan as well as Leona, so we know right alone is Ezreal. We also know Ezreal just used his E, and we know he doesn't have E for the next while, so we can be pretty confident to just step up here, so long as we don't just get poked down. We know Ezreal can't really do all that much to us. However, here me and Leona want to, of course, reset and spend some of that gold that we just got. So here I'm able to actually reset and get my entire Protobelt together with my Berserker Greaves. Now here, Ezreal has been stopping Leona from backing multiple times, so much so that I'm already getting back to the lane with my Protobelt. So I'm ready to go in if Leona gets an engage in. So here, Soraka hits the root, Leona hits a beautiful engage. Here you can see immediately the alt Protobelt combo. We're able to burst down once again the Soraka. Now with Soraka dead, we can focus on Ezreal. We get the kill on Ezreal, and now if Ezreal dead, Rengar comes in for the gang, we can focus the Rengar, and we get a triple kill. Once again, two important things to note. Number one, we focus Soraka first so that she can't heal the Ezreal. Number two, we go in with our Protobelt, which is why I was mentioning that Protobelt is a very important pickup for Nilah, because without that Protobelt to engage there like what we just did, we either would have to E through our Leona and then ult, or we would have to ult and then flash on top of the enemies. And as I mentioned, expanding your flash or expanding your E to engage is a big waste either way. But as you can see, after we hit that huge R onto both of them, we're able to use the double cast of E to go through the Soraka twice and pretty much just burst her down to almost dead. She was left at 1 HP. She tried to ult and heal herself, but she still ended up dying eventually. Now off of that we get bot lane tower, and off of getting bot lane tower, we're able to actually rotate over to the Herald to give our team a numbers advantage and prevent the enemy team from contesting the Herald. Instead they choose to contest mid and they try to take out Lucian. I'm somehow able to secure the Herald instead of the Jarvan, which is pretty strange, but anyways we got the Herald. Now here I actually make a mistake and overextend. I pretty much get everything thrown at me, but with the help of my Jubilant Veil, the W, I'm able to actually block some of the damage, particularly from Lux, and we are able to survive. But we do have to use the recall though. Of course we get Herald and part recall. Objective bounties have just come up for the enemy team, and unfortunately for us, Rengar just happens to take the tower like 5 seconds after objective bounties come up, so he's able to get the additional goal. Leona here kind of catches out the Rengar. I rotate, but it's a little bit too late, and Rengar is able to get away. Now, we weren't able to defend the bot tower, and the enemy team is now grouped up ready to get mid tower, so we try to rotate to defend mid tower, but the enemy team as a 3-man unit is actually able to pretty much secure mid tower, as you guys can see. So we pretty much just instantly lose 2 objective bounties, which is a pretty, honestly, pretty unlucky situation, the fact that objective bounties just came up. So here I'm going to reply by putting on the Herald and getting down their mid lane tower to of course open up the map a lot more. Here Lucian tries to go in, nearly one-shots the Soraka, but however Lucian and Leona are left pretty low, and I don't want to go in by myself, so we're just going to have to leave. Somehow Herald actually gets an additional charge into the enemy tower, which of course is always helpful. In the meanwhile, while my team is resetting, I'm not going to waste any time. I don't have to reset personally. Almost full mana, and I am at pretty much full health. So I'm just going to not waste time. I'm going to clear out the Raptors, and then I'm going to rotate over to bot, clear out this wave, let my wave begin to push in, and then we can even rotate to the Krugs to farm the Krugs. Now of course I'm leaving the red buff for Jarvan to farm because he can get the buff share most likely, and I can get a red buff as well. So here I'm just going to clear out the Krugs. Unfortunately this was the last red buff that didn't have the buff share, so I don't actually manage to get the red buff. A little bit unfortunate here, but we are able to of course farm up, recall, and get our Bloodthirster. So you can see in this game we're actually really fed. We're 5, 0, and 1, and at this point is where we actually just maxed our second ability. So now our Q is maxed at level 11, and we are of course able to have double core item plus of course the Berserker Greaves. So this is where the AD from Q comes in handy, as we just hop over the wall, get a kill onto Ezreal, and go ahead and take the dragon. So this is where our Q comes in handy, because we got the 55 AD from the Bloodthirster, 40 AD from the Shield Bolt, as well as 15 AD from the Berserker's Greaves, compared to just now when we only had the 40 AD from the Shield Bolt, which is of course not going to be that helpful in terms of the AD ratio on Q. So this is of course where the Q AD ratio comes in really handy. So that's why I think maxing Q second when you hit this point in the game is going to be the best. Of course in this match I'm really fed. If I wasn't this fed, I would at this point have some item components of the Bloodthirster, and by the time I completed the Bloodthirster, of course my Q would already be maxed, and of course that's where the AD ratio would of course come in handy. So anyways, now that we've taken Dragon, we're just gonna go ahead and clear out the bot lane, and then we can rotate to mid and join our team. So here you can already see why the Emax over the Qmax is the way to go. You can already see how Ghost has been really helpful to us. You can already see how Protobelt has been really helpful to us. So pretty much this gameplay is sort of explaining all of the rationale that I had when I explained my itemization, and such. Of course, I never really pointed out how the runes help, but you can pretty much already know by my explanation why Coup de Grace ran last time. Here you can see use of Protobelt again, able to ult Protobelt in and get the engage, and I think Protobelt is really the way to go for Nilah, and really Emax is really the way to go for Nilah, and all of these things combined, like pretty much I've changed every aspect of how I play Nilah at this point. Here I'm able to secure the tower, and I'm trying to ignore the on and go for the Lux. You can see I'm able to pretty much almost get the Lux, and here I'm able to kill the Lux, but I overcommit and I end up dying to the Ezreal, giving him a 7 kill shutdown, which is pretty bad. Now, just notice that there's also a Lux on the enemy team. This is also the pre-nerf Lux, so you can see that we are able to actually be highly effective against the pre-hotfix Soraka and the pre-hotfix Lux at the same time, of course using these methods that I've described in the earlier section of the video. And yeah, this is really how you play Nilah properly, and I think that most people are not playing Nilah in this way, and that's why I made this video, to sort of enlighten people as to how to really play Nilah properly, or what I think is the best way to play Nilah. Of course, even for one same champion, there can be multiple playstyles, multiple good ways to play that one champion. So this is just the way that I think is the best to play Nilah personally. So anyways, here my team has a pretty big lead, so we're kind of going into the enemy jungle to see if we can get anything out of it. Pretty much just zone them away from their own jungle farm. Now here, Lucian's able to kill the Ezreal and as well as the Soraka. Of course, being a melee champion, really difficult to kill a champion over the wall unless they're right next to the wall. So Lucian's able to finish off that kill. Jarvan's getting in the current jungling. Here, we try to get a catch onto the Lux, and we are able to get a catch onto the Lux. Now, unfortunately, Ornn is super duper tanky. Even after the nerf, Ornn, like with 2 items, you can see that we are not killing him at all. Now, something to note is that, actually, if you really think about it, Nilah is one of the best tank shredders in the game, because when you hit like triple crit item, you already have like, I don't know, 20 something free armor penetration. Of course, we're only at 2 crit items now, but at like 4 crit items, you have a free 35% armor penetration combined with an actual armor penetration item. You can hit like, I think like 70% armor penetration, which is absolutely huge for shredding tanks. But of course, this is only in like the late game. For now, we only have 3 crit items to complete our IE, and now we can build towards our LDR. Of course, in this game, it's kind of a game that you really want to get anti-heal because of the Soraka, but I'm trying to get my team to compensate for that. You can see that for now, like the only anti-heal we have on our team is actually on Leona, which no one, actually not on Leona. We also have anti-heal on Jarvan, and I think on Jarvan and Leona, the anti-heal is pretty much enough. We don't need me, Yone, and Lucian to have to be forced to itemize into anti-heal and kind of waste, our goal. So here Leona goes in, I go in with the out Protobelt again. Of course, I didn't really get enough range on it, so I ended up only catching one person, but either way the fight works out. We're able to pretty much just kill the entire enemy team. Ornn and Ezreal are only 2 left alive. Ezreal is getting corralled by me and Yone, and he does end up going down. Managed to pick up both of the kills, and Ornn is left like split pushing on the bottom lane, and he's gonna pretty much be forced to recall. So here the dragon is up, and so is the Baron. So we've chosen to do the Baron because obviously Baron is going to be really helpful for us ending the game. There's 3 of us here, and Jarvan's on the way now. Ornn goes in with the ulti. Unfortunately, Baron is getting Leona and Yone really low, and Ornn is pretty much unkillable. You can see that there's 4 of us whacking one Ornn, and he's not dying. Ornn actually picks up a double kill onto both Leona and Yone, and now we're 3v1 against the Ornn. And take note that this is a Giga Fed Nilah and a Giga Fed Lucian. Lucian's like 15 and 4, and I'm 10 and 1. And we're having so much trouble killing one Ornn. And that Ornn is, granted, he is pretty fed as well, he's 6 and 3, but I cannot believe how tanky Ornn is. Even after the nerfs, Ornn is still completely busted. Regardless, he manages to solo stop 4 of us from doing Baron, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. So because of that, we're all going to have to recall, regroup, and now we're going to have to go for the dragon instead, which is still fine because of course we're on double dragon now. Getting triple dragon would be very ideal for us. So here you can see me and Jarvan are trying to go ahead and do the dragon. Enemy ward spotted in the pit, we're going to just remove that, and we're starting to 2-man the dragon. Enemy team doesn't really end up contesting. Ezreal and Lux out are launched to try to steal from us. Doesn't quite work. We are able to secure the triple dragon, so that at least works out for us. But we're almost there. When we hit our 4 crit items, we're gonna have like 70% armor penetration because we're gonna have LDR together with our passive armor penetration, and hopefully Ornn is gonna be less of a problem. But for now, you can see we basically can't do anything to Ornn. There's no point of really even attacking him at this point. So here, my team is pretty much just pushing in the top lane, where I'm sort of just like holding down mid lane to prevent the enemy team from pushing. Now, of course, I think the enemy team is going to be rotating to the top, so I'm, of course, letting my team know that Rengar tries to assassinate Lucian, but ends up dying instead. I mean, that just shows how fed this Lucian really is. He has like 4 full crit items already. He's way more fed than me, and he pretty much just one-shots the Rengar, same as how Rengar can one-shot him. Now, Lux is getting chased by my team into the jungle, and here I'm like pinging for Baron, because with Rengar dead, we can try to go for the Baron, but my team just pretty much ends up going on a wild goose chase for the Lux, and they do end up getting her eventually. So now our new biggest problem kind of becomes the Ornn, because Ornn is pretty much unkillable at this point. So you can see here, Leona gets a stun, I'm just whacking Ornn on stun. I realize that going for Ornn is a useless target, so I'm gonna ulti and then Protobelt to catch up the Soraka. So I'm gonna go for Soraka, who I can pretty much just one-shot. Ezreal makes the mistake of hopping the wall, and here I'm trying to run down the Ezreal, popping the Ghost to just chase after him. Since he's running towards our base, if my team plays it right, this will be a free kill, because Ezreal has nowhere to go. Either he goes to our base or he gets cut off by my team over here, and as you guys can see, we get the kill onto him. So now the whole enemy team is dead, even the Ornn, only Rengar is left alive. Now, I still think it's a good idea to do Baron, as you can see Jarvan's pinging for Baron, but we realize instead that we can actually just end the game. So we only Rengar is left alive and defending. Actually, he just died, I think. Someone just killed him. So he's dead. So now here we can actually just end the game, because we actually have 2 ways. So here, instead of going for Baron, we're not going to waste any time, we're just going to end the game. And that's pretty much how the game went. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and bye.